Notes from the Underground, Part 1 Summary. Name of Part 1 is The Underground. A note from the author introduced a fictional character known as the Underground Man, who the author says is a representative of the current generation and whose rambling notes will form the novella that is to follow. The underground man begins by telling the reader that he is a sick, spiteful, unattractive man. He says that he does not know what he is but he refuses to be treated by doctors out of spite. He has been living underground for 20 years but used to work in the civil service, where he was rude to everyone who came to his desk. He tells his readers that he is neither a scoundrel nor an honest man, neither a hero nor an insect, and says that no one of the intelligence in the 19th century can be a man of action or character. The underground man says that he is not to blame for being a bad person, but that his overly accurate consciousness prevents him from taking action. He says that being overly conscious is a disease. He tells the reader that there are times when he wishes someone would slap him in the face, and says that he would neither be able to forgive someone who slapped him nor take revenge on him. Whereas less intelligent people act impulsively to get revenge. Someone of overly accurate consciousness has too many doubts and questions to take action. The underground man compares himself to a mouse that retreats ignominiously back into its mouse hole. He says that man of action simply accepts the laws of nature, science, and mathematics, thinking it impossible to protest that 2 times 2 makes 4. By contrast, the underground man hates such facts. The underground man argues that there is pleasure even in a toothache, saying that after a while someone with a toothache finds enjoyment in indulging in loud moans of pain that annoy others. He says that being a nasty little man a ruse is pleasurable, and then asks the reader, can a man possessing consciousness ever really respect himself? Moving on. The underground man says that he is incapable of apologizing. As a child, he would sometimes cry and repent when he did something wrong. What would then realize that this was all lies, revolting, made up lies. He says that often gets into trouble because of his boredom, which is a result of his hyper consciousness. He says that men of action only take action because they are stupid. They think that they have found a primary cause of something that gives them a reason for acting, but someone who is actually intelligent questions these causes and can think of multiple causes, so he only acts out of spite. The underground man speaks of people who believe that humans only do bad things because they don't know them true trust, and that if people knew what them in them best interest, they would only act accordingly. The underground man disagrees and says that sometimes man desires something harmful to himself. He disgraces slightly to argue that human civilization has made men more cruel, setting recent military conflicts such as Napoleon Wars and the American Civil War. He says that some people think that as science advances, people will live more rationally and society will approach the perfection of a crystal place. He argues that this kind of existence would be boring and the people prefer to live according to their own stupid will rather than logic or reason. He says that sometimes people desire something opposed to one's own advantage simply in order to exercise one's free will. He claims that without a desire and free will, mankind is nothing but a stop in an organ pipe, obeying the laws of nature. He says that human history has been irrational and that such irrationality is man's only way of rebelling against the rationality of 2 times 2 makes 4, and proving that he is a man and not an organ stop. He says that 2 times 2 makes 4 is no longer life, and that 2 times 2 makes 5 is a preferable. Continue to argue against the idea that mankind only act in his best interest. The underground man says that there can be a peculiar pleasure in suffering and that man sometimes loves suffering terribly. He says that the utopian idea of the crystal place is a hoax and that he would reject it because he would not be able to stick with his tongue rudely there out of spite. He tells his readers not to believe one word, not one little word of what he has written, and says that he has no plans to to print his notes but merely writes to relieve some of his boredom. He says that it is the snowing outside which reminds him of a story, and so in part 2 of the novella, he will tell a tale apropos of wet snow.